On Flickering Dreams this time, we look at a film based on the racing game Gran Turismo. We look at Disney's latest offering, The Haunted Mansion, and new on Netflix, Gal Gadot in Heart of Stone. This is Flickering Dreams. So we have three of us, which is one more than we had last week, which is great. We don't have Scott Forbes with us in person, but we do, through the magic of video telemetry, have some of his comments on some of the films that we're going to be looking at tonight. I don't know about you guys, but after Barbie and Oppenheimer and Mission Impossible, felt like we were kind of on a drug high. Not that I've ever taken drugs in my life.
The Meg 2 and the Meg 2.
Oh, and
Indiana Jones.
Less so. Maybe Indiana Jones, not so.
Meg,
but at the moment, having come off that, let's just focus on Barbenheimer, okay? After Barbenheimer, it feels like we've kind of come off the drug high and we're on a bit of a downer at the cinema with various films coming out, which have been, shall we say, I've been reaching for my lower star ratings in
Meg 2?
In my reviews. Somebody said Meg 2 just then. I heard her.
Sorry,
I heard her. Yeah. One film we're going to start with, though, I thought was half decent, and that is Gran Turismo. And Gran Turismo is the true story, believe it or not, of a gamer turned racing driver, Jan Mardenborough. Here's a clip.
What is this?
It's a contest. The best Gran Turismo players in the world get a chance to compete in professional racing.
Dude, this is real.
This is real.
I'm sorry. You really think you're going to take a kid who plays video games in their bedroom, you're going to strap him to a 200-mile-an-hour rocket? It'll tear him to pieces.
So, Gran Turismo, I mean, it's quite extraordinary. It's a true story, actually. Jan Mardenborough is a real guy. In fact, the end credits say that he was actually a stunt driver on the film. He's now aged 30 years old. And in the film, he's played by Archie Madegwa, who I thought did a really cracking job, actually. And he's joined there by Orlando Bloom, who kind of plays this sleazy marketing executive guy. I mean, Orlando Bloom is Orlando Bloom, right? He's a pretty boy. He never completely convinced me in that role, I'm afraid. But the one who did really make me very happy was David Harbour, old Father Christmas himself, who I thought was absolutely terrific, playing a sort of an engineer coach person. So I heard Mark Kermode describe his character as being a bit like Louis Gossett Jr. in An Officer and a Gentleman. He's basically got all these new young recruits and he says, you guys are going to fail, right? Mayo. And basically slashes them down and then builds them up and kicks them out or befriends them, as happens to this guy, Jan. And I thought he was absolutely great. Every single moment David Harbour appeared on the screen, I thought was terrific. I thought the racing scenes in this film were top notch. And I really liked the way, I mean, it's been years and years since I've played Gran Turismo, but I remembered that you could either have like one of three different views depending on what you clicked. And the camera could be kind of in the car, kind of in front of you looking out, or it could be on the bonnet, or it could be hovering behind the car. And they managed to actually replicate all three of those in the racing scenes in the film, which I thought was very neat indeed. The sound design was also fantastic. You'd be sitting in the cinema and wow would come the sound from the back of the cinema across the front, and you saw the internal engine pistons driving around and making a hell of a din. I thought it was a really nice film to see in the cinema on the big screen with a really, really great sound system. And I also thought the story was kind of nicely old-fashioned. How many biopics have we seen recently where you've kind of gone forwards in time to the point he died and then back to his birth and then somewhere in the middle? And this was actually a nice linear story that walked through the events of this guy's life up to a particular point. Had a nice little, quite sweet and touching love interest story there of him finding new love with this girl from school. I thought that was all nicely played by the District 9 director Neil Blomkamp, who directed this. On the downside, it felt like you were being bludgeoned over the head at times with a PlayStation console. The amount of it's made by PlayStation Pictures, so the clue is in the titles, right? But at times, man, it was aren't we wonderful? Look how wonderful PlayStation is. And to a lesser extent by Nissan as well in the film. And there was the most appalling mansplaining going on at points in the script, right? The number of times it told you, oh, if he wins this, he's going to get a shot at driving a real racing car for Nissan, right? And if you missed it, then another 10 seconds later, oh, if he wins this, if he gets 4th place, he'll get his license. What was that? I said, if he gets 4th place, he'll get his license. On and on and on. I think the best one for me, the one that really made me snort with laughter, was the team talk minutes before the start of the Le Mans race, in which they said, oh, just remember, this is a 24-hour race.
Yeah.
What? What are you doing? It reminded me of that point in that dreadful film, what was it called, Love Again, where they were designing Celine Dion's tour poster minutes before she went on stage, right?
Exactly.
It was that sort of, who wrote this bit of script? Anyway, but aside from that and some dodgy acting, there's Jerry Halliwell in it. He was okay, but at times not okay. There's a point where he rings her on the telephone about getting a place, and she sounds about excited as if, I don't know, she won a free hot dog in a raffle or something. It's not a good piece of acting. But anyway, I quite enjoyed it. Andy, did you see it?
Yeah, I've seen it. I really enjoyed it. I thought at times it was quite thrilling, the way that it was filmed. There is that one moment when a dreadful accident occurs and we get to see what the driver sees. Instead of just looking at the accident as a spectator, we're kind of in the car with him. I thought that was pretty good. I thought as someone who drove a Lamborghini for the first time this week and was shocked and stunned at going from 0 to about 80 miles an hour in 3 seconds and is still recovering from that shock, I thought it was really good. I thought the race scenes were great. As you say, I could take and leave the script. I could take and leave some of the acting. But for me, this was all about the cars. It was all about the racing. That was brilliantly done. It was good to know that our hero was actually his own stunt double at times in the film. So that kind of let the film an air of realism. You know, you kind of thought, well, at least there must be a lot of what we're seeing must really be real, must actually have happened, because he was there and now he's reenacting it. So yeah. I thought it was a really enjoyable and at times quite thrilling film. And I thought the effects were great. The scenes, you know, we've had some good racing films. We had Grand Prix. We've had the film about the guy who died, Ayrton Senna. We had some other good racing films, and I thought this was up there with them. I just enjoyed it for the spectacle. As you say, script, well, forget it. Just enjoy the spectacle, and I thought it was pretty good from that point of view.
Yeah. Okay. Emma?
Yeah, I mean, echoing a lot of what's already been said, I am a sucker for a racing movie. Ever since I saw Herbie, I'm sold on them all.
Oh my God! I saw Herbie the first time round at the cinema.
I think I did as well, or at least one of the early ones.
many times. I dragged my poor mother to see that. Yeah,
quite right too. But I mean, like you said, the sound in this was absolutely incredible. Our cinema does not have the greatest sound system, and even there, it was absolutely amazing. And like it really, like I find it gets me hyped up. Like you're hearing the amazing sounds, and then you're watching some really well shot racing scenes. The accident that happens,
it's quite breathtaking, isn't it?
Yeah, that really like stopped me, and I was like, oh my God, what is going on? And like the fallout from that, I thought was really well done, and probably the only bit of the script I would call out and say was excellent.
Yeah, I'd agree.
And a really good bonding moment for the two characters. Okay, we don't know how much of it is true to life, but the fact that this is a real... Like, every time I saw something, I was like, there's not a chance they put gamers in this situation. Oh, no, they did. Okay, remember they did, Emma. Yeah, I was just completely blown away with it.
Yeah.
The only downfall to me was Orlando Bloom.
Yeah.
It wasn't acting particularly, was it?
But he's a pretty boy. He's a pretty boy.
Yeah, stick to the long hair and the elf ears. It's fine.
Yeah. If you've listened to the Mark Commode and Simon Mayo Take podcast of this particular film, it's a really interesting chat that he has with Neil Blomkamp about this film. And it's well worth listening to that episode of Commode and Mayo's Take. I mean, they're a struggling podcast. They need the viewers.
Yeah.
So
we'll give them a plug.
please give generously and listen to their podcast. They need it. But it's really, really interesting in describing how they actually filmed those scenes where the actors were not actually driving. There was another driver stuck behind them, and they couldn't actually see anything in their car because of the reflection stuff they had to put in the... I mean, it sounds absolutely horrific thing for the actors to film, being thrown around racetracks at that speed, not in any control of what they're doing. A bit like you, Andy, at Truxton or wherever you were. Yeah. But that was good. So scores on the doors for this. I know Scott hasn't seen this one, or I don't think he has. I gave this one an 8 out of 10. I liked it a lot. Andy?
I've written down 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10. Emma?
And you know what? I was tossing up changing my number. So to make the maths easy for you, I will go 8 out of 10.
Great. So that's 8 and 8 and 8 divided by 3. That's a Flickering Dreams score of 8.0, making it... Good stuff. Right. We're moving on to a new film from Disney. Let's just hope they don't regurgitate some live action animation or one of their dodgy theme park rides. Andy, what is it?
We have Jared Leto as the Hatbox Ghost in a new version of Disney's Haunted Mansion based on the chilling ride.
And let me tell you, it will fight back. Ghosts like to fight. For example, 1813, a group of mediums went into the house just a little north of here. It took 21 days. They worked their butts off and they got that deceased owner out of there. But they were all found... how old are you?
9.
Okay, I'm talking organs on the outside.
Oh, 9 is young.
It's not that young, girl. I was driving by 9. Look, I know that might have been an extreme example.
Yes.
But they were a group of amateurs. I am a professional, okay? I'm bona fide and qualified, certified. And I can get rid of what died.
How do you want to start with the Haunted Mansion?
Bear in mind, I saw this at a screening where there were 2 families with very young children and a baby who, as soon as the lights went out and people started screaming at the ghosts, decided to join in with the screaming. And the parents did not take it out for ages, despite complaints, and there were kids running around. So, having said that, I read a review today of the Eddie Murphy version, which was 2003. And it said, not scary, not funny, what's the point? Ditto. This new version, not scary, not funny, even though we were laughing at that, but I think we were probably laughing at that for the wrong reasons. And what's the point? I've done the ride at Disney World in Florida. It brought back some nice nostalgic memories of being in America at Disney World and doing the ride. Other than that, it really isn't scary. It really isn't funny. Owen Wilson is Owen Wilson. We were just talking about Orlando Bloom. I don't think Owen Wilson can really act anything else other than himself. Jared Leto, we know what we think of him. I just didn't get it. I just didn't see the need for it. It's a 12A. And again, within minutes of the film starting, they're talking about exorcisms and astral projections. And the kids are sat there going, what? What? And I'm still convinced we need a 12 certificate, even more so having seen this after having seen Barbie. But that's just me, it would appear. I thought it was a waste of time. I really didn't get anything out of it. I was glad when it was over, to be honest.
We actually have a insert here from Scott. So let's see what Scott thought about Haunted Mansion.
As far as comedy horrors aimed at a younger audience go, I thought that Disney's Haunted Mansion was a really enjoyable film. I know that there was a previous version with Eddie Murphy, although I haven't seen that film. This one, I thought, it gave me a lot of laughs, and it also had one or two moments of genuine emotion in there, which I didn't expect from this movie. I thought the performances from a pretty stellar cast were really good. Lakeith Stanfield in the lead role impressed me a lot, and Tiffany Haddish, who can be a bit hit or miss at times, I thought this was one of her better performances that I've seen her in, at least lately. There's a few jump scares that could probably work for the kids, and the general atmosphere of the house, the actual Haunted Mansion, I thought it looked really good. Production design was impressive. Okay, the story isn't blowing anyone away, and the screenplay is certainly not going to be picking up any awards. But on the whole, it was a fun movie.
Okay, that's what Scott clearly liked it. I think more than you did, Andy. Emma, how about you? Where do you sit?
Some excellent takes there from Scott. I wholeheartedly
I think
agree.
He was on his way to a WWF bout against The Rock, I think.
Having been a Disney kid and going quite a few times, I did enjoy this for the nostalgia and the Easter eggs, and I thought they really captured it incredibly well. I haven't watched the Eddie Murphy one in a while, but I don't remember it being that closely connected with the actual events that happen in the ride and the experience. So for me, this really did capture that well. The right amount of cheese, just the right amount of spooky without being over the top. Like, I loved the humour of all the ghosts and things. I thought that was very amusing. I wasn't sold on Jamie Lee Curtis, and I didn't realise she was in it until she popped up on the titles. Yeah. I didn't think that was great. The standout performance for me, though, was Chase Dillon, who plays the son, Travis. I just thought he was incredible. Like, child actors can be a little bit hit and miss. And I just thought every scene he did, he was the star of it. I particularly liked, the back and forth he had with Lakeith Stanfield. Found that to be a really good emotional sort of connection. Dealing with all the troubles he's got and what obviously the house is, trying to achieve. I really enjoyed myself. I did think it was funny. I chuckled quite a lot. And as I say, nostalgia probably did give it a few extra points, but even taking that out, I think we would have been still rating it highly.
It was certainly nostalgic, I agree, but to me it felt like it was ticking off boxes of, there's this bit in the ride, there's a bit in the graveyard with the spooky little men singing their song and all that stuff. To me it was just kind of ticking boxes as it went through its script, trying to tick as many of them as possible and shoehorn them into the story. I was ticking off my comments here against what Andy was saying, and it's almost like I don't have to say anything else because Andy said just about everything that I've written down here. Not scary enough, not funny enough. I couldn't work out what audience this film was going for. It wasn't scary enough to scare teens the way that Scary Stories That They Tell in the Dark did with Guillermo del Toro. It wasn't funny enough.
I'd quite like to see him directing this story. Actually,
I think he was down at one point.
He was down originally, I think, or
he
one
was
of the original choices.
Yes.
Which that would have been a totally different film.
Interesting. Yeah. But I don't think it was scary enough for teens. I think it was too scary for kids under kind of 7 or 8. So that kind of leaves you kids in the 9 to 12 bracket, which is not a great kind of demo. They don't make a lot of movie-going decisions, that demographic. And I found myself, as the illustrious Mrs. Mann sitting next to me was sitting, looking at our watch, saying, "Is it over yet?" I mean, it didn't really grab me enough. Didn't hit enough buttons for me.
I think we should point out, shouldn't we, to anyone thinking of taking young kids, it is over 2 hours long.
Yes, it is a long film. It was 90 minutes.
That was a surprise.
Yeah.
If it was a 90-minute film,
Yeah.
I think it might have worked much better. When you said standout performance, though, Emma, I thought you were going to have the name that I'd written down, which was Lakeith Stanfield. I thought he was absolutely fantastic in this as an actor. I thought he did an absolutely fantastic job. It reminded me of Belosh looking into the pit of souls, say, whatever are you doing in such a nasty place? What was he doing in this film? What I thought was a relatively poor film, but such a great acting performance. Scores on the doors. Here's what Scott thought.
For me, I would rate Haunted Mansion 7 out of 10.
Andy?
4. I'm sorry, Emma, but I'm going for a 4.
Emma?
I gave it a 9. It's massively rewatchable for me.
9. Wow. And I'm afraid I'm giving it a 4 as well. So that's 4, and 4 is 8, and 9 is 17, and 7 is 24. That's a 6 out of 10 for the Flickering Dreams score, making it a... Sorry, Emma. Never want to see that one again. Okay, our final film we're looking at today is on Netflix, and it's called Heart of Stone. And this stars that Plain Girl. What's her name? Gal Gadot. And she plays a character called Rachel Stone, who's somebody who's undercover with an MI6 team, but who actually works for a secret global organization called the IMF. No, sorry, correction. That's the Charter. But thankfully, they have a powerful AI to assist them in their work. The AI can predict the future, and it can hack into any global system, and it's called the Entity. Nope, sorry, I got it wrong again. No, it's called the Heart. Okay. But all is not as it seems, because Rachel's cover as the 9 of Hearts is about to be blown in a big way. Here's a clip.
This might be kind of intense.
Chance of success just 32%.
Because you've got no imagination.
The heart gives the Charter its power. If you own it, you own the world. We've been breached.
And now you answer to me.
I'm coming for you.
So, have you both seen this one?
I haven't seen this one. No, I've not had the pleasure.
You've not seen this one?
No, I didn't get a chance to see it either.
It's just myself and Scott. So let's hear what Scott made of Heart of Stone.
Heart of Stone is a spy thriller that was released on Netflix, and it stars the likes of Gal Gadot and Jamie Dornan in the lead roles. This film also features an actress called Alia Bhatt, who I have to say is one of my favourite actresses in the whole world. She is an Indian actress who is basically in Bollywood movies, and if you haven't heard of her, do yourselves a favour and go check out some of her films. This movie takes a lot of inspiration from the likes of the James Bond franchise, the Mission Impossible franchise, and even the Fast and Furious franchise as well. There's stunts galore, chases, explosions, lots of death-defying action set pieces. I couldn't tell you very much about what the actual film was about. I know that there's AI technology that's all-seeing that they refer to as the heart. We've seen things like that in the Fast Furious franchise with the God's Eye. It doesn't really matter. I don't think anyone's watching this film for the plot. The action sequences are fun. They do rely quite heavily on green screen, which at times can be quite obvious, but the cast seem to be giving it their all. They're having a reasonable amount of fun amongst themselves. The script is a little bit dodgy at times, but if you're looking for a generic action thriller, there's worse ways you can pass the time than checking out Heart of Stone.
Okay, so that's what Scott thought, and I share a lot of those views. I mean, I've seen a lot of comments online. Andy and I are members of a Mark Commode Appreciation Society on Facebook, and there was quite a diatribe thread about this film, about how appalling it was. I didn't have such a problem with it. I mean, it's not a great film, I agree, but as a sort of James Bond-lite or a Jane Bond-lite, I thought it was still quite enjoyable. as Scott was saying there, it borrows heavily from a lot of films. I mean, in my intro, I was spoofing the fact it's so much like Mission Impossible 7 in terms of some of its things. Clearly, AIs are going to be the new multiverse. We are going to get bored sick of films about AIs coming up. That is my prediction for 2024. Right, we flit around much as we did with Netflix Red Notice, which also had Gal Gadot in it. We go to lots of exotic locations who clearly have good film production tax benefits, including the Somali desert and Iceland and Lisbon. And we have a really nice car chase sequence through Lisbon, dodging around the trams. And I had to laugh at that because in my Mission Impossible review, and I think I mentioned it on the podcast a few weeks ago, I said, can't they find somewhere other than Paris or Rome to have a car chase? And I don't think I actually mentioned Lisbon on the podcast, but I mentioned it in my review that said lots of great cities like Lisbon, Barcelona, Madrid, right? And blow me, the film that I sit down and watch has this great car chase through Lisbon. So tick, right? So I like that. Aaliyah Bat, as Scott said, makes her Western movie debut here, and she's fine. Negatives for me, I say it stole from a lot of films. It steals from Moonraker, the opening of Moonraker with the parachuting, 2 people, 1 parachute thing. It steals from Where Eagles Dare with a cable car fight. It even steals from Galaxy Quest with an oxygen depletion scene. So it's
Moonraker
not
actually had a cable car fight as well.
Oh, it did as well, yes.
In Brazil,
yes, that's right.
yeah.
Yes, that's right, it did, yes. So it's not novel, but I still quite enjoyed the outing. And I mean, Gal Gadot, she's not difficult to look at. Let's just say that as a hot-blooded male over a certain age, Gal Gadot gets paid for being Gal Gadot, right?
Yeah.
Not the best actress in the world, but she's very good. She's very good in a tight-fitting ski suit, throwing herself around ski slopes. Not that she ever did, right? Because whereas Tom Cruise, that's another film it kind of nicks a bit of. She does a halo dive out the back of a plane, just like Tom Cruise did in Mission Impossible Fallout. But I bet that wasn't Gal Gadot, however close the camera got to her. Here's what Scott gave Heart of Stone.
For me, this one would be a 6 out of 10.
And I also gave it a 6, so my maths is not being tested today at all. But that is a Flickering Dreams score of 6 out of 10, which makes it a marginal as a film. But hey, I did the ironing while I was watching the film, and it passed the time nicely. Right, this was a good ironing film for me. So that's the films we've got for you today. Again, we're relatively short on films new out in the cinemas this week. And we're also, because we're short of Scott here, I'm going to park our discussion of the films of somebody...
Tim Burton.
I was trying to keep on talking there until the name popped into my poor head. Tim Burton. We're going to park our discussion of Tim Burton films until the next time the 4 of us are together. Any other AOB from you guys?
I just want to raise again the fact that Bambi is in cinemas this weekend. I saw it on the big screen as a child and a reissue. And I just want to say, if you've never experienced some of these Disney classics, like Snow White, which I saw the other week at the cinema, now is the time. Go see Bambi on the big screen. Yeah, absolutely. There you go. I mean, Bambi is a strange film in many ways. It's quite slow. It's quite melodical. It takes its time. There's a very, very sad moment. There's a sort of not the happy ending that you kind of wish for in many respects. And so I think Disney were being a little bit brave with this one, but it is just a beautifully drawn animated film from the early 40s. and the opportunity to see it again on the big screen. Lovely soundtrack. I mean, people can say, "Oh, it's soppy and sentimental and stuff." It is, but you know what? Sometimes after all these big films we've been watching, I don't mind a bit soppy and sentimental. But the opportunity to see a real classic like that on the big screen, just go see it. I love Bambi, and I think it'd be worth seeing again on the big screen.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to mention.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah,
good suggestion.
I have had my movie schedule done for the weekend. I was told I'm seeing Bambi on Saturday,
Right.
followed by The Haunted Mansion again.
Oh my word!
Right. Oh, you're
And
Have you seen
Mon Meg
Bambi,
2.
Emma? Have you seen Bambi?
So
Well, not back to-
I have a very specific memory of seeing it when they re-released it.
Yeah.
And it's in Kings Lynn in one of those tiny little cinemas that's like an
I
old
know that
theatre
cinema.
type in that one. And my nan fell asleep during it. I
Right.
remember I
Well,
couldn't
yes.
tell you anything about the film
No.
from that experience. But so
I just
it'll
think
definitely
it's
be fun going to it again.
soppy,
There are-
sentimental, slow, but it's good. It's lovely.
There are a few kind of pivotal moments in films that have completely freaked out a nation of children, aren't there?
Yeah.
I think
And
Bambi
Bambi's
has
one
one
of
of
those.
them. One of
Yeah.
them. Ring of Bright Water, that bloody ditch digger with his shovel. And even later than that, Bridge to Terabitha.
Oh, don't,
Oh, my
please. I'll
God.
start crying now. You mentioned that one.
Yeah. Right, there you go. Right, there's three of them. Three films that have traumatized a
Traumatised
nation.
children. Snow White's scary, actually, for kids. I
It
think
is.
that the chase
Yeah.
through the forest is actually quite
Yeah.
dark and quite scary, actually.
Yes, indeed it is. Indeed it is. Right. Good. Okay. Thank you, Andy from Sorted Magazine and Konnect Radio. Thank you, Emma from Emma at the Movies on Twitter. I'm Bob Mann from One Man's Movies. By the way, if you want to subscribe to Flickering Dreams, please click on the icon which is just appearing on your screen, and you will be subscribed for all future offerings. Thanks very much. See you soon. Thank you so much for listening or watching Flickering Dreams. You can find the video version on YouTube and the audio version on all major podcast platforms. And don't forget to subscribe so you can get each of the weekly episodes as they are released. We'll see you at the movies.